Hi everyone, I'm Sal, co-creator of Salt and Pepper Productions,
And hi, I'm Pep, co-creator of Salt and Pepper Productions.
and we're back with another The Promised Neverland video. Today we're going to talk about Season 2, Episode 9 of the Promised Neverland anime. So, Pep, what were your overall thoughts on this episode?
I liked this episode. I thought it was very meaningful. As always, I always like to think, folks, I always like how they put at the end a big bit of spoilers, but I thought it was a very good episode. It didn't go to the direction I thought it was gonna go. I thought that they were gonna there's gonna be a lot more conflict between the Lambda kids and the kids from Gracefields, but as it turned out, the kids from Lambda are still good people, and the effects of and they're seeking for vengeance and their desire to make a change in the world before they passed gave way to their humanity and their seeing of the suffering of the demons being reflecting in their own suffering.
Right, like that
Which,
scene with Barbara when she was about to
yeah,
kill the two younger siblings, and then she remembered being tortured herself back at Lambda.
yeah, she saw herself in them, or well, the best visual representation of seeing yourself in someone. And it was very touching, but it was also very surprising to me that that's the direction they were gonna go, that they ended up going. But I kind of like it because it's kind of trying to show that human nature is inherently, or not just human because these are demons, but intelligent beings have a inherently good nature. It's just that we're driven to bad things through pain, suffering, and fear. That negative things end up corrupting people into bad things.
Yeah, and that really fits what was happening with Norman because, as Emma was talking about a bit in this episode, this isn't who you really are. You are a nice person, but right now you're trying to be God. You're trying to carry this burden for everybody, trying to, because you want to protect your family and your new friends.
Yeah.
But I can see that you're still scared and you're still the same person. You're this isn't really who you are.
Yeah, I like that. They what was it? They said that it was their desire to make a change in the world with the time they had left.
Mm-hmm.
That they took their frustration with the fact that they're all dying to try and what's the word? They took that out as a way of trying to avoid their mortality and make a change in the world before they passed, because their lives were being unfairly taken from them.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we found out what Lambda is, or what the Lambda project actually is.
Right.
It's not
So
just them torturing kids.
yeah, basically they've been giving the Lambda kids and Norman drugs that would increase the speed of brain development because the brains are the best part, the most important part of the humans that the demons are eating, so they really want to develop that. And they thought and they think that they can increase the speed of brain development using drugs so they can create, I don't know if I should say artificially create intelligent humans.
Well, to push humans beyond what put humans in an unnatural condition, push them beyond our normal limits.
And now that I think about it, that's probably why they're having the headaches, actually.
Yeah,
Because,
and also probably why Vincent's head was cut open.
yeah, maybe.
They probably wanted to check on his brain as it was being to see the actual effects of it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of dark,
Yeah.
very dark. Um, yeah. I also we get the reveal that are planning on using this project on. They're ending the old farm system completely because of
Right.
it. They want to uh what's the word? They want to replace it with the lambda so they can just grow more brains properly, which I think is interesting because
And I
we
guess, sorry, you finish your thought.
no. I was gonna say it's interesting that this is like suddenly popped up because we still don't know what the safari is. Like, it's
Yeah.
just been dropped, just flat dropped. It seemed like such an important plot point, but now it's like, uh, where's the Tafari? When's it happening? Like we went from like this sort of religious sort of thing to now they're trying to grow humans faster. I don't know what's going on anymore. Well, I know what's going on anymore, but I want to know what happened to the Tafari. Are you still doing this? Are we not? Should I put the coleslaw salad back?
What was I going to say? Oh yeah, I think what I was going to say when I interrupted you, sorry about that,
No, it's fine.
was I think what I was going to say was that basically using the drugs to develop the brain is a lot faster than having to raise the kids until they're somewhere in between 6 and 12, so that's probably a way to create more intelligent humans at a faster rate.
Yeah. I wonder though if it's gonna, well, even though the brains are gonna be more, like big, if they're gonna have like a lack of like, or I'm assuming more big. It's kind of like the, I don't know. I don't know if big is the right word. I don't know. I wonder if it's gonna have any interesting side effects that like, but not just on the people, but
The
on the
quality of the meat
yeah
or
the
the flavor.
quality. Yeah, that would. I don't know why I'm thinking about that, but yeah, that was my question. That because they're suffering, is that gonna like change the quality of the stuff they're eating? Though, I also had like an interesting thought while I was watching it that like the kind of the artificial. I thought about how like artificial the care, the or not just artificial but conditional the care the children in the farms get. Like the whole reason they were treated nicely and given all these nice things was purely entirely because it just made them better quality food. They weren't actually cared about. There was no actual care about them, and that as soon as another option came up that like allowed them to get the same quality of stuff, the same quality of human meat. I don't know. I gotta come up with a better word. Uh, the same quality of long pork as they were getting before, but like cheaper and more efficient. It just kind of they just immediately went to it and kind of like the true like the true like kind of the true sinisterness of the farms
Mm-hmm.
with like their underlying even though they kind of the veneer of care, but like you just scratch the surface and it's like a lot more cruel than you imagine,
Right.
and it's a very conditional care. Versus like the care that the kids seem to have for each other. Like Norman was going to commit genocide, like pretty much just commit straight up genocide and murder children in front of Emma, and they immediately like pulled him back in and like saw his suffering for what it is and took care of him and and helped him like reconcile and find some level of peace again, even though he's been through so much.
Mm-hmm.
And even though he's been doing so much, and even like the care between, kind of the scene between the grandfather and Demon Emma and Norman, where they forgave each other and they exchanged this sort of care and compassion between each other,
Mm-hmm.
sort of that true compassion, even though such horrible things have happened, versus that sort of fake and like veneered compassion of the farms.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's what I was thinking about when I was watching when I was watching the episode.
One thing I thought of after watching the episode, I remember we last episode we were talking about when the when Norman and the others escaped from Lambda, and you thought it was really interesting how Barbara asked Norman if he was God when he saved her, and
Mhm.
right now, Aunt Emma in this episode was talking about how Norman's essentially trying to play God, and
Yeah.
I feel like because of, and Norman even said, I wanted to be a boss you guys could rely on, that's why I hid the fact that I was having these really bad seizures, stage 4 seizures, and basically because of how highly the Lambda kids, because they think so highly of Norman and really look up to him, he really feels this burden, like trying to look out for them and also thinking about Emma and the others, and feel like with the time I have left, this is all I can do for my family. Like, this is something I have to do, even though it's not really in line with who I am as a person. Like, even though he does feel a lot of hate and anger, like, deep down, he, like we were saying last episode, he's still the same Norman.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I think there was another interesting thing I was thinking about, and that was there's two characters who have been referred to as God in some way, and like God with a lowercase g, and those are the girl, the bad blooded girl or the evil blooded girl, and Norman. And in the scenes they're referred to it, it's one is because she's saving them from having to degenerate and showing them compassion and bringing them out of like a terrible situation. Like literally, like I can imagine. I don't know what degeneration probably is like, but I can imagine it's pretty close to hell. And then when Norman saved Barbara, she was probably in a pretty close situation to hell herself. And I thought that was an interesting idea of the use of God in the idea and in the story as someone who is coming to save the people from coming to someone in the pits of their despair and giving them hope or bringing them out of their suffering.
Mm-hmm. And also, another thing is like when Norman was trying to wipe out the demons, like kind of taking the role of a darker god. Like I remember in the previous episode, he even said, "I will become a god or the devil."
Yeah. He's giving himself power over their lives. So I guess in a way he is a god. A god is taking power over another person's life, which is like traditionally something that is supposed to only be given to the realm of deity.
Right.
I think that I don't know. Um, yeah, I'm to change the topic very quickly. Can I just say I was venerated in like my earlier conspiracy theories about everything being a trap?
About which conspiracy theory in particular?
Okay, that's a problem. Now you asked which one.
I mean, are you talking about how
The one where I said something's gonna go wrong, they're all gonna get trapped eventually.
oh wait, are you talking about like
Oh yeah, back when I
Norman?
thought the no, back when I thought the no, well that was one of them. Okay, I admit that he was not a trap. He wasn't going to steal them, or he wasn't working with Mother that we know about. He wasn't working with Isabella that we know about, who is still suspiciously absent. Um, but what I mean is, excuse excuse me, I'm very sorry about that. What I was talking about is at the end of the episode when the director was talking with the demon, the lab guy.
Peter Rattery.
Yeah, Peter Rattery. The anti-William Minerva. Uh, Minerva William, we'll call him that. He was talking about how they gave them the sort of that radio call
Mm-hmm.
from the base to tell them that they were taking all the kids were getting shipped and that they're
Mm-hmm.
bringing them back in this giant trap. But he said something interesting. He said that like they had an inventory. It kind of implied that he had an inventory of everything that should have been at that base, that like little way station security vault that they were at.
Like they noticed that the radio was missing and they
Yeah.
realized, oh, they are probably eavesdropping on the scheduled check-in
Sorry.
for
Uh,
at the farms, so we can feed them false intel to lure them into a trap.
yeah. Which makes me think that they knew a lot more about that station than originally was implied. And I think that this whole thing has been a trap. That the whole point of this has been to test the kids, to get to test the intelligence of the Lambda kids, to show that they are smart enough to do this. See, this is how smart they are. They were able to escape and everything, and be able to outwit us until we.
That you think that. What do you mean? Like they wanted the Lambda kids to escape, or?
Oh, yeah. That they wanted. Well, I mean, one. What I mean is, yeah, basically, they wanted them to escape. This has all been according to plan. That really the kids are still playing into the hands of the farms, and the farms still have everything that they've wanted to happen's happened. Because they wanted they I feel like the Pens. I don't know. I have a sneaking suspicion that either William Minerva was manipulated, or William Minerva. Was it Patrick and James, or James and Patrick?
It was
The two,
Peter
yeah,
and James.
Peter and James. Peter was William Minerva. It makes me wonder if maybe if Peter was maybe manipulated by James, or if maybe Peter didn't exist and James was actually Peter all along, playing a role for a while.
Well,
I don't know. I'm being highly conspiratorial.
Because during that scene, when the demon and Peter were talking, the demon began to say something about. I think they were talking about William Minerva, and the demon was about to say something about how because of and then Peter cut him off as, like, it felt like before he could say your father or your brother or whatever the relation between James and Peter is. Because we know they're related because of their last name.
Yeah, I don't know, and I wonder if maybe James manipulated him a little bit because it feels like this whole, or maybe took advantage of.
What do you mean, like James? Because Peter's the current gatekeeper.
Which one?
James is William.
Okay, Peter. Yeah. Okay, sorry, I flipped them in my head. What I wonder is if Peter used his brother's brother, father, whatever relationship it is, his compassion for the kids in the farm as a way to set up a trap to then test the program. To try and see if these kids are really all that smart, let's see if they can escape and what they can do. And then, obviously, since we're running all this, the worst thing that's going to happen is a couple of peasants that we don't care about might die. But then they come back, and because we're gonna we eventually trap them, and then our program works. And I've done a proof of concept. It almost seemed as if after the farm escape, that was sort of the, hey, look, it worked kind of proof that he put forward to the demons. Because that where I'm just grasping at straws, and the project just so happened to finish with their prime subject, which was Armin, not Armin. I was about to say Ray too. Wow, I keep forgetting names. Um, I can't remember names. White-haired sick boy. Oh God,
Norman?
Norman. That's it, Norm. My brain just took that name and went nah. um, not allowed. You're not allowed to remember that name. I almost called him Ray. That'd have been awful. Yeah, but what was I gonna say? But
I mean,
it kind of feels like this is all from with the information we have now. It kind of feels like it's been contrived over a period of time.
I don't know. I mean, on one hand, Peter said something about how he thought Norman would be perfect for his future plans for Lambda. On the other hand, in that scene between the demon and Peter, it felt like I don't think the demon was happy about what happened at Lambda, and I don't think he was happy about what happened with James.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that James was already starting to do this, and then Peter's the current one, right?
Yeah, Peter's the current one.
Okay, I keep switching James and Peter in my head. So I feel what might have happened is James is doing what he was doing, and then Peter found out about it, told them about it, and then used the things that James had set up as the way to create the trap.
We'll see about that.
At the very least, there is a current trap going on, and that is that the fact that they know the kids are going to become.
Yeah.
My thing is that I think that trap has been set for longer than we originally thought.
Yeah,
So there was originally a plan. Go ahead.
I mean, I guess I know what you mean. I mean, because, the kids escaped from the shelter a year ago, and they waited until now to set the trap. Although maybe they thought, maybe they
I don't know.
thought if they sent a fake message right away, like immediately after the escape, it would have been too obvious, maybe.
Yeah, but a year is also playing it, and it also just so happens to correspond with what happened at the village. Just so happens. I mean, it could be just the author needed that to happen for plot reasons, but it does feel like a lot more of this is contrived and set out and was sort of controlled chaos. I am quoting my finger. I'm quoting fingers for those who are listening.
Air quotes. That's
Air
what it's
quotes,
called.
yeah. Quoting my fingers, yes. I put quotation marks around my fingers and I'm waving them. I just, to me, it feels like, I don't know, maybe it's just the way I'm thinking about this and thinking that there has to be, I don't know, it kind of made me jump back to that theory that there's like a giant trap in place and the kids are being manipulated for even more ends, that like their lucky break has just been playing into a different goal or a different plan. Also, I'm pretty sure I know where Isabella's going to show up. She's going to show up at the farm. The farm's going to be abandoned, and it's just going to be Isabella and them.
Yeah, speaking of Isabella, because we talked about that scene with the demon and Peter, and we neglected to mention that Isabella was also there. And
Wait, was that Isabella or Grandma? I thought that was the grandmother.
Grandma Isabella.
Oh, sorry. I didn't even notice that. Wait a minute.
They called her Grandma Isabella.
Okay, I saw Grandma, and I just thought it was like the other grandma that we knew before. I didn't think about that.
You didn't see her face? Like, were you
Okay.
too busy looking at the subtitles?
Yes.
Insert complaining about why dubs are better than subs according
Dubs
to
better.
Pep right here. Like, this is the part where Pep talks about why dubs are supposedly better.
You know, there's a funny Instagram like reel about like a guy who's like, oh, so you think dubs are better than you think subs are better than dubs? Oh, I'm sorry, were you taking too long to read that? Oh, you wanna go do something? Oh, I'm sorry, you're too busy reading. I don't know. I have to find it. I'll send it to you. There's probably someone in the audience who knows what I'm talking about.
But anyway, yes, that was Isabella, and apparently she has a new title, which is
Grandma.
interesting. So
Actually, what if that was her reward? That she was made grandma.
maybe, I mean,
She doesn't get
it's a
Ray.
little
Screw Ray.
it's a little strange. I mean, I can't remember if I because when we first saw episode 4, which I believe was the episode in which the demons made an offer to Isabella, like, we talked about how we think it could be Ray. I remember wondering if it was somehow Leslie, and you were like, no, Leslie is totally dead. There's no way that could have been an option. Now, we didn't talk about this, but I think maybe I briefly considered, like, giving her a higher position, but then I was like, that doesn't really make sense. Like, we're gonna free you from the farms and then make you a higher up in the farms, like that feel like.
Well, maybe the grandmother isn't wasn't was free to leave and come as she wanted. That might be a thing.
Hmm.
That like they don't their bond thing on their heart is removed when they become a grandma, and they're like allowed to like move around and leave as they please.
Hmm.
Along with like how the researcher is allowed to like do what he wants.
Hmm.
That could be very possible. Though it could also just be a temporary position for the fact that like she's working for them, so they raised her to a grandma for a while till she completes her task, and then they let her go free.
Hmm. I liked the Ray theory.
I liked it too. It would make sense, but it also kind of fits in the character where her whole thing has been the whole like motivating factor for her has purely been her own survival,
Mm-hmm.
and her like that's been her main thing. And it would kind of show how because I think a lot of people probably would have thought like I think the implied reason was Ray because that's her son.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it would play into the idea that she's completely self-motivated. That it wasn't her son that got it, but her own status and her own ability to survive.
Hmm.
It's quite possible. I don't know. Isabella's an interesting character because she's a mix of a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
So we will see.
Right.
She could also technically, also even if she does tell Ray at some point that like, oh, his freedom is guaranteed or something like that, that's not necessarily true. Because she could just say that to like him or try and like persuade him over to her. Because she is very manipulative like that.
Right.
But we will see. I just can't believe I didn't notice that. Just whoop, right over my head.
Talk about a brain fart.
Can you tell that I've been tired lately?
So, anyway, let's talk about the scene at the temple where they were talking about when they were talking to the grandfather demon, and the grandfather demon was telling them about how he acquired this piece of a pen that the kids were able to use to learn more about headquarters and to also find a cure for the Lambda kids' symptoms.
I mean, one, I'm going to say the fact that I 100% think that he thought that he knew they were humans living in that tower. Because of, I don't know, it just seems to make sense to me. But also I think so. What happened with the piece of the pen that he found that contained, the biggest dump of information they've gotten yet, is he found a young boy living in the woods.
Well, it was a dying human.
Dying. I think it was. I think it was implied to be like a young kid, like an escapee from the farm.
I thought it was an adult.
Was it?
Sure.
It might be.
I'd
It
have
might
to
have
double
been.
check, but I assumed it was an adult.
I don't know. I totally missed Isabella, so like, I could have just not have been paying perfect attention. And this kid is why you watch the episode twice instead of once. um, but he ends up watching the person die, taking the piece that he was like clutching for dear life in his hand from him, and then butchering and eating him along with his family.
Like he said, he performed the Gupna, which is the flower ritual, as a way of respecting the game and honoring the gods.
Yeah. Which which I thought was I just thought it was interesting because he looked saddened by his own actions then, and that this is something that like has haunted him for years. The fact that like he ate this person, and that this was the moment that he realized that like people were the same as him or the same as the demons are, that they are like sentient beings with wills who have a desire to live just the same that the demons do. And he felt remorse about the fact that he felt remorse about the fact that he has this blood, he has the ability to like prevent the demons from needing to eat people, and he feels conflicted between trying to protect his family, because if people find out that he has this blood and this ability, he'll be killed, and so will his family likely, and anyone that he gives it to will also be killed. But if he doesn't use it, and these creatures that he believes to be sentient and to be the same as him and deserving of moral consideration are being tortured and killed on a regular basis for his and his family's consumption.
Right, like, the saying that comes to mind when I think of that scene is, evil thrives when good people stand by and do nothing, because I feel that applies to the elderly demon situation where he knew he had the power to help humans and demonkind by sharing his blood with everyone, but he was afraid of the retaliation.
I mean, I think it goes into. I think it like shows. I think it shows a very realistic reason why people don't do things in the face of why they don't like fight back in the face of evil. Because by doing so, he draws attention not only to himself but to his family and to the people he cares about. Maybe he'd be willing to sacrifice his own life, but is he willing to sacrifice little baby demon Emma, or his wife, or his son and daughter? Or I don't know which grandparent on which side he is to Demon Emma. So is he willing to sacrifice them along with himself, and possibly sacrifice anyone who he tries to save? And whether he can actually make an impact just on his own. I think that, like, because like if he does this, he might just end up resulting in more demons dying, rather than saving them. And I think that like that probably played very heavily into it, and probably weighed very heavily on him through his life. I don't know. It was a very touching scene because he didn't cry, but I imagined I imagined a tear going down his cheek as he was. I can imagine it was a very painful and like heartfelt thing for him.
Mm-hmm.
That like the weight of the responsibility and the fear were very heavy forces playing on him at that moment. Or not just in that moment, but in general, and that admitting to what he's done was probably incredibly hard for him. It's probably something that he had a hard time facing himself for.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the Emmas met each other and knew each other, or Emma now. The Emmas know each other now. They have reflected in each other's eyes the fact that they are both Emma. I guess like I mentioned like before that there's a lot of like seeing yourself in others, and I think this is was a very like literal way of doing it. Of oh, we're both named Emma. I am literally you, but different.
I didn't even consider that.
They're each other, but one's a demon and one's a human.
Mm-hmm.
They walk different paths of lives, but they have the same name.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. That's actually some really cool symbolism.
All the symbolism. The show is very good with symbolism. Even like the showing of like seeing each other, especially seeing each other in someone else's eye, or seeing yourself in someone else. It's very good. And they do nice comparisons between like different people acting in different ways and kind of the juxtaposition between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I took 2 English classes in college and that was it. And I never touched the subject again. Barely literate, so like I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. I don't know, because like I still wonder if that book is Peter Pan. This is a really random thought. But you mentioned symbolism. Now I'm thinking about the name of the show again, and I'm really wondering if one of those books was Peter Pan. One of the books they got from the library that like had William Minerva's name on it.
We know the 2 books that they used after escaping was a mythology book and a book like The Adventures of Ugo or something like that.
Yeah. I wonder if the first one was Peter Pan. I don't know. I don't know why. Well, I know why. Neverland. The prominent. Yeah. No. Did we ever talk about the name in one of these episodes and like what I thought the name meant, like what it referred to?
I remember in our discussion of the recap episode, you were talking about how when you went into the very first episode of the first season blind, you were trying to guess why they were taking tests, and you were trying to guess, oh, why is this show called The Promised Neverland? And the show went in a completely different direction than what you were theorizing.
Oh yeah, no, this show. Yeah, I thought it was gonna be some cool sci-fi stuff. Nope, we got people being eaten in a fantasy setting.
In a previous episode, Norman said that he wanted to destroy this Neverland.
Well,
which I think he was referring to the demon world.
Yeah.
And
well, I think the reason. Oh, go ahead.
And I think one time we were talking and you suggested that basically, you know, in this world, children don't live to be older than 12. And basically in Neverland, you never grow up.
Yeah, okay. My thought was going... That's what I was going to say. I don't know if I said that before, because I don't rewatch these episodes. So if I ever repeat myself, just mention it in the comments, and I'll never speak of it again. Yeah, but I think I think there's also a bit of Neverland, and as like the life they were living is a lie. So it was like never the land they thought it was. It was always something else. It was always a lie.
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know why I went to the name. I'm sorry. We should go back to the episode.
So, earlier we were talking about the Lambda kids and how they took how when Norman called off the attack and said, we're not doing this anymore, this isn't what I really want to do. How the Lambda kids took that. We talked about how the Lambda kids took that surprisingly well. Except one. Vincent.
Oh, yeah. Vincent, you friggin' narc. Traitor!
So Vincent. So, obviously the Lambda kids really look up to Norman, and they have a huge amount of respect for him, and Barbara even said she hates the demons and she wants revenge, but Norman is more important to her. She respects him that much. And Sislo and Zazie, I guess, feel the same way. Vincent, on the other hand, when Norman called off the attack and said, I don't want to annihilate the demons anymore, this isn't something that I really want to do.
Vincent's the one who didn't take it too well.
Yeah, he did not take it too well. And
actually, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
What I thought the reason why Vincent betrayed them is that Vincent wants to live and he doesn't care if he has to sell out his friends, and that he doesn't think that them going back to the farms is going to work. And that if they go back, they're going to get caught and they're all going to die. And Vincent wants to trade them for the supposed cure that was found in the basement. I don't know. There was just a room labeled cure or something like that.
I think it was in headquarters.
Yeah, in the headquarters. There's just a room named Cure or something like that. It seemed that's another reason why I think this whole thing's a trap. Is that seems oddly specific to put on a building diagram. This is the room where we keep the cure to the Lambda project. Yep. Yeah, we just put that on the blueprints. I don't know. I thought that seemed really kind of.
The elderly demon had that piece of the pen for 15 years, he said. So.
We don't know how long they've been planning this. If Peter is Patrick Peter. If Peter is been at this for a while and has been trying to use what James was trying to do to set up his own thing, then he could have done this as set this up years in advance. I mean, we already have one really smart person having years and years of planning being executed and all that, and by that I mean Ray and his lifelong plans of building escaping and building a destroyer of tracking devices. I don't see why 15 years for someone who looks like they're in their 40s, maybe 30s at minimum. He's had plenty of time to plan this. He could have been planning this for years and years and years. Just set it up, get it all set up. Plan going smoothly, just as expected. The kids are falling into the trap. They're playing right into their hands. It wouldn't be the first time an anime has done that. It wouldn't be the first time you get to the last episode and the villain is just like, ha ha ha, you have fallen into my trap. Everything you have done has been playing perfectly into my hands because I'm a genius. Ha ha ha. So I don't know. It feels in place, and it also would kind of work thematically to the fact that part of the story is about people doing things because of the way they've been treated, but also because of the systems in place. Because the demons are doing what they're doing because they have to survive, and the system, despite having a way to make it so that they don't have to, perpetuates itself by having them continue to eat humans. It keeps itself perpetuating that way, while um, it could be that the kids are playing just into the system the same way, even though they're trying to fight against it, and they've been doing all these things to try and escape and be self-determined and all that, but in the end they're just playing back into the system. That, like, I don't know, I'm trying to find an example. Kind of like how, people who have ever met someone who's like, oh yeah, I'm totally like my own independent special kind of person, but like they just but there's like 101 people just like them, because they're all like, oh, I'm going to be different than the norm, and just becomes the exact opposite of the norm, which is it's still a commercialized, standardized thing. I don't know, that was a bad example, but it's what came to my head immediately. But I don't know, it feels like they might be playing into the system just the same, even if they're trying to escape it. And yes, I did just compare fashion choices to demons eating people. I feel awful. You can cancel me now.
So, yeah, at the end of the episode, we saw Vincent use the radio to contact Gracefield, and he said he wanted to make a deal with them.
Yeah, I think the deal is going to be, I get the cure and get to be left alone. You get the kids, and and you get to know that we have this weapon.
I think last episode, after learning that Vincent was kind of the second in command, I began to get an inkling that he might end up being a bad guy, because he's Norman's right-hand man, and also there was still that scene where Sislo was talking to Ray and Emma, and then Vincent just cut him off before he could say what Norman and Zazie were up to.
I didn't get that inkling, but that's pretty good. But that is a pretty good inkling on your part. You were right. Because I still feel like it would make sense for like there still to be one Lambda kid who's a villain.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we don't know
Norman's change of heart.
Yeah, or who doesn't care, is more whose whole reason behind this is self-preservation rather than what the others were saying, where they were doing this to try and make an impact on the world and change the world before they passed away. Acting out in pain, Vincent could have just been acting in self-interest. I want to live. Why would I? And I want vengeance on the demons. Why wouldn't I do this? And if he's just self-interested in I want to live, why wouldn't he make a deal to just survive?
Self-interested like Isabella.
Yep. Same basic character goal. I don't know. We don't really know too much about Vincent as a character.
Like, is he doing this out of self-preservation, or because he feels betrayed? Because he knew Norman longer than everybody else.
I don't think he would have done this out of feeling betrayed. It would feel counter if he wants the demons to all die or disappear. Like if he truly believed in the original purpose or the original goal, why it would be counter to his prerogative to have them killed, to like give them up. It would because that would just remove his ability. That would remove the amount of people he has to act and his own like ability to do things. He could rather work in the background and try and succeed in his goal without he could try and succeed in destroying the demons without letting everyone else know or manipulate them into doing the things he needs them to do. But it wouldn't make much sense for him to give up the give up his friends to the demons, because that would just reduce his ability to act.
Hmm.
It'd make more sense if he was acting self-interestedly and wanting to live rather um than to like fix the world. That he's just self-interested in living, and he doesn't think that them going back to that they'll survive in the farms.
Hmm.
Or they'll survive going back. So he says, well, if we're all going to die anyway, I may as well live.
Hmm.
Just self-interest.
Hmm. Another thing.
Because go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I think I was gonna say the only thing we know about Vincent is that he's smart.
Yeah, the Lambda kids are pretty underdeveloped. I feel like Vincent and Barbara are the ones with the most characterization.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
Cisco,
Barbara,
not so much, and Zazzy, like, he never seems. It doesn't seem like. I don't think he can talk, actually, because he never seems to talk, and we don't see his face either.
yeah, it's probably like a bunch of stuff that's been like removed when they were making the manga. There's probably some scene, like the scene of like them at Lambda was probably longer in the manga than it was in the anime, and they're probably more developed as characters, but they have more limited time with the anime than they do the manga, so they restrict that.
Yeah, like right now I feel like Vincent and Barbara have the most characterization.
Yeah. I kind of love Barbara. She seems like a very sweet person at the base, but also a very tortured person.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for her. I want to give her a hug and tell her it's going to be okay.
I wonder, because last episode we were talking about how Vincent is basically Norman's second in command, but if Vincent really is doing everything out of his own self-interest and self-preservation, like, could he have actually been playing Norman or using Norman without Norman realizing it?
Or did Norman realize? And there's some massive 5-dimensional chess going on. That's entirely possible. My initial thought would be that Vincent was just kind of playing along and helping Norman because he thought this was the best route for him getting what he wants, and what he wants is to live. And he thought the best way for that to happen is to kill the demons. And I think it was mentioned that they were originally trying to find a cure for their condition, but that there wasn't enough information left for them to find. That a lot of it was destroyed before they could get at it.
Yeah, maybe that's what, in the last episode when Norman says this data isn't enough, maybe that's what they were talking about, data on how to cure their condition.
That's what I think. And that, like, that was originally he thought, well, the best way for me to survive and not die is to team up with Norman and team up with these other individuals who seem like they can defend us, and then we try and find a cure, and then I get cured, and then I don't die. But now it seems like the best way for him to do it is if the farms have a cure, and he thinks that they're going on a suicide mission. I think I've gone over this. Well, I just betray them and get the cure for myself. And then I live. I accomplish my goal.
Interesting.
It could. I don't know. Vincent seems like that's the only explanation I can think of for why he would be acting the way he would. Other than just pure like, oh, Norman doesn't want to kill them. Screw him now. We're gonna get him. I'm gonna get him killed. Now I'm just gonna kill everyone on my own. But that doesn't even make sense because now we know that the evil blood can save the demons. Or what he could be doing is he could be telling them about the evil blood.
Oh, that would be interesting. And then the farms would come straight to them, potentially?
Yep. And then
like
when they kill off all the...
Before the kids can leave?
Yeah. Or even to, like, prevent the evil blood from existing out in the wild and spreading, so that he can then use his demon deforming gas to like kill all the demons that who aren't affected by the demon blood, because now there won't be demon blood to save them,
Right.
and so he can just kill them all off.
Mm-hmm. So, any more thoughts on the episode before we wrap up?
Um, mm, Actually, this is a very good episode. I mean, it's rare that we don't have a good episode, but I will say it did feel really quick for all the Lambda kids to just kind of.
Yeah.
I expected Barbara to have more challenge with it, but I think they did a great way of the great the way they handled her accepting it was very good, and the fact that she saw the pain and that her good nature was appealed to, despite all her pain and her hate, and that it was shown that she just can't go through with what she's doing, even though she's killed and eaten many demons before, or implied to have killed and eaten many demons before. To me, it felt really weird that it happened so quickly. It was
Right.
But it was also done in a very good way where the characters who seemed to have who would have had the hardest time were given a very visceral reason not to be able to go through with what they were doing.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Like, I remember in a previous episode we were talking about how Barbara seems to be the most hot-headed one, and
Yeah.
I guess Vincent seemed to be relatively cool and collected, so Barbara accepting Norman's desires and Vincent being unable to accept it and get very visibly angry is interesting.
Yeah. I don't think she's necessarily hot-headed. I think she's very emotional. I think that she feels very deeply and that she has a lot of pain, and that expresses itself as anger.
Mm-hmm.
But when she saw the other person in pain, she continued to feel very deeply. And the pain of watching what amounts to like a young child in pain and afraid hit her just as hard as her own pain, because she can empathize with the suffering of this child. And she can't bear to bring herself to be what she so hates, and that's the demons.
Mm-hmm.
Or not the demons, but the demons who hurt her. It was one thing to kill them. It was another to kill an innocent.
Mm-hmm.
It was one thing to kill the people who hurt her. It was another thing to do what others did to her to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was very interesting. I think that was a very good, even though it was short, it was a very like good way of having her character motivations change and her being okay with what's going on, despite her being so hateful towards the demons before.
Mm-hmm. And again, like, another large part of it is her respect for Norman.
Yeah. Yeah, that too. The fact that Norman, that the person she follows and the person she holds with such high regard has changed his mind, makes it a lot easier for her. That her North Star has pointed in a different direction, and she is able to both have her compass and her internal emotions both point in the same direction, and that's away from how she used to feel.
Mm-hmm.
What she used to desire.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I love Barbara. Poor girl. Just hug. So tortured. I feel like she's young, like younger than the others.
She seems older to me.
Maybe she's older, like age-wise, but like emotionally and like mentally, she seems a little younger.
Hmm.
I feel like maybe she might have the Lambda experiment might have affected her differently because she's incredibly strong.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've noticed from earlier, I feel like the Lambda project might have had more than just one original intent. The original intent of like improving their brain, and it might have like affected her differently than the others. That like it grew her brain, but it also made her really strong, but stunted her in other ways.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because she was also held in that dungeon. We don't know what happened to her in comparison to the others.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably a manga like whole chapter on like what happened to the others,
Yeah.
which is going to be like really. If I ever end up reading it, it's going to be like really sad, and I'll cry because poor Barbara.
Mm.
We love you, Barbara. It's okay. We're safe now.
So I guess that's it for the episode. Thank
That
you
does
very
appear to be it. Oops, sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry if you haven't noticed. We talk over each other all the time. Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching the video. Don't be afraid to like and subscribe. Check out our other videos. If you haven't already, be sure to share this video, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Yeah. Hopefully we see you again soon. Let us know what you think, and if you agree with us, disagree with us, think we're a little too bats or whatever, let us know, and hopefully we'll hear from you again sometime soon. Take care and have a wonderful day, or night, or whatever current solar lunar situation you're in. All right, just end the recording now. That's been awkward.
Bye.
Bye.